All right, we are recording. Continuing in this, specifically the Saints and Sinners stories, which are, hang on, one, two, three, four, five, six different stories. All but one are 15 pages long. This is apparently 15 pages. I know that one of them is 1 page longer, which is a little bit of a joke, but we'll get to that later. And I'd mentioned previously in another video, but anyway. Saints and Sinners. So they are 6 stories that are just short stories. And does explain here, we actually get 2 letters, one from the Saska sisters, who my understanding is was overseeing the process. They also wrote one of them. But the other 5 are written by other people. One by Eric July, one by As from Heel versus Babyface, that's the first one. One by Drunk 3PO, also known as J. David. One by Mahler, aka Callum Edmonds. One by The Critical Drinker, aka Will Gordon, and as I mentioned, one by the sisters. So it's basically just explaining here that the idea to do Saints and Sinners came from the fact that, hey, we keep going to conventions and keep hanging out together. And we'll even be at a booth together and people come up and see us together. Why don't we actually work together? Makes sense. And so they approached them about, short stories only, in 15 pages. But, want to write a story for us? And, yeah, and they were free to do what they wanted, to introduce new characters. A story introducing new characters to the Rippaverse while incorporating our world into the narrative. So, yeah, it's this first one, Chasing Ghosts. Heel versus Babyface writer, that is how he's actually put in here. Diogenes Neves, penciler. Eber Ferreira, inker. Andrew Kramer, colorist. This is actually focusing on Ingrid Valdez, who is a member of Alpha Corps. I'm just going to shift some stuff on the desktop laptop, so it's easy for me to see some stuff. Alright. Ingrid Valdez has been called in by the Flores Park Police Department to help them with a baffling series of crimes. Someone or something is killing mob bosses in a horrific way. These are hard men, and they look like they are being scared to death. They are found twisted in terror, frozen horror on their faces. But who would be capable of such a thing? Who could be taking out whole groups seemingly at the exact same moment? This is a little confusing for how that's written there, but let me finish reading this and then I'll explain. It is with great reluctance that the resident detective of Alpha Corps, Ingrid Valdez, is brought in to assist with the investigation. Clarifying on that, the reluctance is not depicted as being hers, but being the detective for the police department who is going to have to work with her. Callie Briggs is not thrilled that Valdez is at her crime scene. She's not a fan of excesses in the police force. Despite the lukewarm response, Valdez is unshaken. From the very first instance, she can tell this is no ordinary series of assassinations. This is emotionally motivated. This is revenge. And as I read it aloud, I'm noticing more things. But let me get to the first one. So it seemed odd that it's a baffling series of crimes, indicating that things are going on in order. But then who could be taking out whole groups seemingly at the exact same moment? So which is it here? Is it they hit this gang, then they moved over and hit this gang, or is it both at the same time? Because these single gangs would be groups at the same time, or are you talking about groups within a gang? It is unclear there. In fact, even having read it, it's still not entirely clear, except that you show up to one crime scene because this one is actually new, but there were 2 before. Were the 2 before? I mean, it is just oddly written here. What makes more sense, but it's not what's stated and not clearly stated, would be one gang got hit once, and it's okay, this is weird, but I mean, one gang got hit, okay, that happens, we investigate this. Now, second one has happened, it's okay, that's not twice this happened, it's just weird. And it's clearly something's off here, because, we got people just dying of fright. Twice now. Yeah, let's call in a specialist. So, yeah. So there's that. And it's that makes more sense, but that's not clear here, and I am annoyed by that. But there's also the whole, great reluctance that Ingrid Valdez is brought in to assist with the investigation, as I said, that's more so Callie who seems upset, not Ingrid. Not thrilled she's at her crime scene. She's not a fan of accepts in the police force. And this I have a problem. Because the Great War of Separation, that I've already read and was out before this. Because the Saints and Sinners book came out, was announced at the same time this was. Or like weeks before this. Because, as I've mentioned, it's background noise people to me, and while I'm working, that I'm most familiar with Rippaverse from. In fact, one of the background noise things is, as Heel vs. Babyface, he has a weekly, typically, not always, stream that he does with Eric July. It's called Rip and the Silverback. So, I was hearing that, and it's like, oh, Saints and Sinners, him doing that. It's like, okay. I mean, it's like, as seems kind of entertaining, kind of interesting. And by that, I mean, I could be like, okay, a story from him could be interesting. Might be worth looking into. So I was thinking, yeah, maybe. And also with Marlowe there, because I'm familiar with him through, again, background noise stuff. More so familiar with him than with Critical Drinker. The others I'm just aware of, for who wrote. It's like, okay, but then it was like the Omnibus is announced, and it's like, oh, yeah, that makes more sense. And I've previously explained why I chose to go with the Omnibus, because I've been hearing good things about the Rippaverse, and it's like, okay, well, I don't want let me get this and let me get one book and have no idea what's going on. But Omnibus is, in theory, hey, it's everything, so I can just read through it, and then, in theory, my questions are answered. Except that, in this case, it also set up that, wait a minute, this question is now being brought up. Great War of Separation establishes that, for one thing, excepts like Solari of Alpha Corps, they were already grown adults years ago. Because Great War of Separation, Avery, so Isom was a child then. And you could believe he was like 30, 40 years old. I'm not sure how far back it necessarily goes, but let's go with, a few decades. And excepts were already a thing, and they just typically were either like carnival acts in psychiatric hospitals or in prisons. So they weren't necessarily very common in public, but they were known. Callie Briggs here, how she's drawn, she's a younger woman, like she's 20, maybe 30s, right? Ingrid is also potentially shown that maybe slightly older. But still, it's like this idea of she is not a fan of excepts in the police force. And it's just like, oh, you've basically always lived your life in a world with excepts in it. The Great War of Separation seemingly broke the idea that they aren't in public. It's like that they are just hiding as carnival workers kind of thing, where it's like, oh yeah, they're there, but you don't think about them. Or they're in prison or they're in hospitals. It's like, no, they were apparently around. And Isom also establishes that at least he was out and around as a superhero. And you'd think he wouldn't be the only one. There's also Alpha Corps. It's like, it seems odd to me, this idea that she's against this. Like, where is this coming from, I guess is a better way to put it. It's like, these people have always been around you. Why are you bigoted against them? I don't understand that. Because part of how my thinking on bigotry works is that through exposure, that is just normal. You get familiar with something and realize, oh, it's not that different. I mean, yeah, sure, there are some differences, but it's not that different. Why would I think poorly of another group that it's like I'm constantly interacting with? And so I know them. I have that familiarity. I think that's the best way to defeat bigotry. Which is also why assimilation is important, because to failure to assimilate or intention not to assimilate, that maintains a distinction such that even if you are interacting, that interaction is going to be frustrated, and that's not good. But that's a whole separate thing. This is just like, why? I if it was just straight up, nah, she's like, no, humans only. You're not human. It's like, okay, I understand that. You're a bigot, but I understand that. But if, like a pure blood kind of view, it's like, okay, I can understand. But it's just say, nah, I don't like him on the police. Why? I mean, in theory, you've always known their names. You grew up hearing about them in school. I don't understand that. So despite the long letter starts off from the Saska sisters explaining the background of all this, we do also get another letter that is from, in this case, as from Heel versus Babyface. He explains some of his background with this, and I assume, yeah, the Across to Bear, the next one, which is J. David, so Drunk 3PO. He's also has a letter here, so I assume all of them have letters, just like we've been seeing with the other books. That's fine. So what's given to us here is, in the letter, is as basically talking about how he came to love comics. Started in 1989 with Batman. In theory, I can just grab it, but I'm not... This one? I don't think it... No. Because I have a Blu-ray copy of it that is, like, right here. Yep, that's it. If I don't drop it. Yeah, so this one. So he went to go see it. And it just immediately blew his mind, kind of thing. Especially because he had only known the 60s Batman. That's over there. That's not as easy for me to grab, so I won't. In 1992, he went to see the sequel. Again, loved it. And so he then bought his first comic book, which was Batman, even gives a number 479, and from then on he was hooked on comics. Very naturally, because it's talking about him being a teenager at the time of 1989, very naturally, he started coming up with his own stories. And just, hang on. There it is. I created a team of characters called The Ghosts. But, then just talks about how, it's like he loves comics, he comes up with a story, he'd love it if he could share it. But it seemed like, well, that's not going to happen, except he became friends with Eric July, who then started the Rippaverse and all that. So it's like, and then the question was asked, and it's like, obviously I will do this. And it is, it's an anthology thing. So it's set in the Rippaverse, but you can do your own stories. So that's what he does. Well, that's what he's feeding into this. His own passion is feeding into this, which, hey, good for him. Good for him. I mean, it would be... I'm just trying to think which adjective is going to be best here, because there's, it would be wonderful, it would be lovely, I mean, all that kind of stuff. For many people, they could have that realized. It's like, hey, you had that idea of a story, wouldn't it be great if it could somehow be realized, that you could, if it's a book, you can write it and see it published. Even if it's just, a kind of pulp thing where it's cheap, but it still is, it's made, so now you can hold it and maybe give it to some people that you care about, and that's it. And there are vanity publishers that's exactly what they're there for. They don't make up, like, just a dozen of these things. They're just for your family. Comic books, which get more expensive because now, in theory, you're having to worry about artists. Things like that. Although now I'm wondering, I could legitimately see somebody starting a business, and by somebody I mean likely an artist. Well, probably multiple artists, but doing something where it's like, hey, it's like, have some artists, have some typesetters there that can do a print-on-demand service and be like, hey, you know that story you wanted to do all those years ago that you thought of when a kid? We won't necessarily write it. We may provide some editing. You may have to pay for that. But we can make it. Like, you write it up, we can realize it. Even a comic book, because you have an artist, and I'm not, and to be clear here, I know there would be some people that would hate this idea, but this is actually kind of perfect. You have an artist where it's like, I'll use AI to do it. Not as a replacing their work, but hugely accelerating it. Because, it's like, even if they just sketched out quickly, but have everything else done, like, they're just using pencil and paper. Everything else done by the AI. It's like, going in there to fix it up. I can believe that would be potentially like 90% of the work is offloaded to a machine that gets it done in minutes. It would normally take you days. And then it's like, yep, here you go. I legitimately could see that service working. I could see people liking that a lot. And if you then also had in there like video people, that, now true, this would make it much more expensive potentially. But to see like, hey, okay, we're not going to do a full film, but if you want like a short film, let's say 15 minutes, that's going to take a while, it's going to be expensive, but we can realize it. That I could see being a very interesting cottage industry that could start up. Leveraging the skills and experiences of human artists with AI to provide services to those people who had that dream as a child, could not see it realized then, their life didn't turn out in a way for them to realize it as their profession. but they still want it done. I could see that. I could see that. Anyway, coming back to this, it starts. Well, technically, the first page is showing Ingrid on well, not exactly a motorcycle. It's a little weird. Actually, I'm seeing here now. Yeah, I do not understand the design of this. Maybe it would make more sense if I had any idea what Ingrid's powers actually were. So it's not exactly a motorcycle. It looks like it, but it has paired front and rear wheels. But it's also, they like have green fire coming out of them, which I know green is associated with. She has these, green colored whips. It's also all of Alpha Core's green, but it's like, I don't know. Are the whips actually part? I don't know what her abilities are. So it's. And I don't recall them being explained, but Alpha Core comes later. I just happened to flip to it. So yeah, Alpha Core comes later in this, and that may explain her abilities. But anyway, we see her on that getting shot at, and just says, it's like, now, but then we go back to explain, and it's just, I get it, because that's if you know the Rippaverse, but you don't know the story, if you just grabbed it, and the first thing you see is Flores Park Police Department, are you bleeping kidding me, Chief? Do I look like a comedian to you, Briggs? It's like, if you go straight to that, it's like, okay, I guess this is a police thing. I thought that this was going to be superheroes. Introducing, showing that this large panel with Ingrid on the bike being shot at, it's like, that's a good way to bridge that gap. Because, like, it's establishing certain things about what you can expect the story to be, but then gets into how we actually get to that story. Yeah, so it's basically got this whole, you got a mountain of dead bodies with bullet holes, broken necks, and 2 dead mob bosses without a scratch on them. As I said, Callie Briggs, she does not want anyone involved. Well, at least not an except. Doesn't necessarily state if she's just jealous about her cases, and it's like, well, I don't want anyone working with me. I'll handle this. But I did find this odd. Oh, great. Detective Wannabe is on the case. We don't need her. It was like, Detective Wannabe. And it's just like, in ISOM 2? I don't remember now. In one of the earlier stories I read here that would predate this, because remember, this story, at least as far as when it was published, is around the same time that the Omnibus... Well, no. It was announced around the same time as the Omnibus was. So it is late in the 3 years, because this is years 1 through 3. Why is Ingrid on the team? Braxwell vouched for her investigative skills. That's why. That is stated by Solari. That's why she's there. Where did she get these skills? Because it's like, oh, okay. When I first read this, it's like, okay, so she's got some kind of ability, or maybe she doesn't. It's the suit that is giving her this stuff. But it's like, okay, so she's just going to she's from a police force, or maybe military, an MP that Braxwell knows, and was like, hey, you and I, we can both beat the hell out of anyone, but we really, if we're super cops, we kind of need somebody that is a detective that can investigate. It's like, so it's like, yeah, we can take down the bad guys, but let's have the person that ensures they are the bad guys or the right bad guys. Okay, who do you have in mind? Well, I know this woman, Ingrid Valdez. It's like, that would make sense. But then she wouldn't wanna be a detective. She is a detective. And it's just, okay, well, what is that background? Maybe we get an Alpha Core. Maybe we do. Which actually, now that I think about it, that makes it a worthwhile question. Why is this coming before Alpha Core? Why is this placed in the Omnibus first? Because Alpha Core was definitely written longer ago. That's year 2, I think. I'm not even sure if that's year 3. But that is assuming that we get background on her in that. But yeah, I don't know. So anyhow, they get a call about another family that's been hit, and uniforms are heading out there already, so Briggs has to go as well. But the call is made to, hang on, I gotta look at one thing quickly. Because again, this is okay. No, that's what it looks like there. Saddle up, Sandy. Time to speak it. Speaking, breaking the apex. Saddle up, Sandy. Sandy is like a logistics person, it seems, for Alpha Core. Please be careful with it, Valdez. The chief will kill me if you get a scratch in it. Don't worry, Sandy. I'll be real gentle. With the apex is the motorcycle thing. Don't crash it like Eagle's Nest. Up to this point, Eagle's Nest was just a floating thing in the sky that's where Alpha Core was. But now it is kind of shown on the ground and crashed like Eagle's Nest. So again, and I just flipped forward and just to see like the third last panels page for Alpha Core, it's on the ground and it does look like it crashed there. Why is this here? I gotta. Why is this here in the Omnibus? It seems to very clearly be set after the events of Alpha Core, which is near the end of the Omnibus, making things confusing based on what has been established in earlier stories in the Omnibus order. I'm also just... So we got the Saints and Sinners group, the Horsemen, Welcome to Forest Park, Horseman number 1, Rippaverse, Catch and Kill, then we get Alpha Core. After Alpha Core is Blood, Ruth 1, and Dirty Deeds. That's how it ends. So it's third last. But we've got this here. Now, it's possible that they decided, hey, we want Saints and Sinners to all be together, but some of these are going to be, like, maybe some of them are better set here, just immediately after Yaira 3. Although, it is also, now I wonder, because in... No, okay. Castile military prison. I'm just checking some stuff. Like, where Alpha Core is depicted as being at times in that. There are times that they are on the ground, but it's not indicated to be Eagle's Nest, their normal base. So Yaira 3 could still be prior to the events of Alpha Core. So Eagle's Nest could still be in the air, but it's also irrelevant. It's not depicted there, so... Yeah, it could be on the ground. It doesn't have to be. It could be in there. So yeah, this is very confusing. It then shows... Actually, yeah, now I'm even confused by that. Because it shows, like, her coming out, Ingrid on the Apex, coming out of, like, a transport vessel onto the ground and scaring some people. And it's like, okay, that's fine, but if Eagle's Nest is always on the ground, why can't she just take it all the way out? And if not, then, like, there's an path there, no, I have to take this thing. It's like, okay, then why does she just not take that all the way? About time I got some transportation. Cop cabs just went cutting it for me. I might not be able to fly with boys, but this beast sure closes the gaps. Like, that's fine, but it is, like, showing you coming out of a transport. This is... I'm sorry, I'm just getting very technical here now. It's like, wait a minute, this makes no sense. And I gotta put this in here, because it's like, what? Yeah, what is the point of the Apex if she has to take a transport part of the way, or just to get it on the on the road? Why not continue with the transport the entire distance? Sure, it's cool, and now she has her own ride, but if it's just to cross the street, metaphorically, what's the point? So yeah, then she and Callie, are on, are at the scene, go in there. It's clear that, there's some disagreement here. Oh, and there's also, after what happened to the last guy, I think I'll pass. Callie says when, Briggs is like, well, here, nice wheels, Valdez. How many cops did that cost the city? Which I'm hoping is just be interpreted as that could have gone to hiring more cops. So, and maybe that's why she doesn't like accepts, as she just sees it as they're getting favorable treatment. Which is also asinine, I would think, even for a cop. Because, like, well, we need more boots on the ground. It's like, okay, but what about well, she's a detective, I guess. Let me put it like this. She's a detective. So that means she would need a vehicle that is not necessarily meant for, it's not a standard squad car that would be outfitted with various things. Like, shotgun rack. Do detectives need to go around with that? Maybe not. It's like, oh, no. You just need to have a nice car that you can now go anywhere in the city with. Squad cars would only make certain loops, have to have certain things. It's like, so you need to get a special car. How many cops, how many more beat cops could there be if you didn't have to have that car? I mean, it's like, it's just, I'm sorry, but it is stupid here. Where I can understand the resentment, but it's still like, what is the underlying cause here? Because even she should recognize that you do sometimes need to have extraordinary means and measures for the people that have earned it. I mean, or like, is she against SWAT having specialized equipment for the situations that need it? It's like, well, no, of course not. Well, when Ingrid's involved, it's a special situation. Not so different. Shut up. It's the same logic. Now, if you think it was a waste of money, like, oh, does she need something that's that capable? Okay, now we have a discussion there. That's not what's going on here. And it comes back to the whole, I don't understand what her deal is. And I'd like to know, because it's very much important to the character. Because she's just angry. Why? Because it also has, and she starts smoking. It's like, who even smokes these days? Someone that has to deal with your shit, super cop. It's like, you literally like just met. I mean, she is deeply resentful, even bigoted towards Accepts. Fine. Why? And I get, this is a short story, but it still is. This is basically the main character outside of Ingrid, right? And it is this is the, whole anthology. It's introducing new characters to the Rippaverse while incorporating our world into the narrative. It's like, okay, Briggs is the new character. The new character that would be the main character. Ingrid is from Rippaverse and helping tie things together and all that. And Ingrid is, yes, the main character to the story. But it's like, outside of her, it's Briggs. And we got nothing on her. She's just angry. And I'd like to know more for why, because it just seems so out of place. And if it were something like she's had bad dealings with Accepts, if it were something like she's had to work with them before and just found them arrogant, found unduly arrogant, something like, it's like, okay, cool, give that to me so then I understand. I'm going to add this as a note as well, just because I think I may have written it in a little bit, but I really want to hit home on this. Really do not get a sense of why Briggs is so bigoted bigoted against, I should say, Accepts. It seems so over the top, but is without any given, this is important, given motivation for it. Because if it were just the whole, how many cops did that cost the city? If it were just I think you're a waste of money. If it were just that, okay, but then someone that has to deal with your shit, super cop, it's like, then that doesn't fit. Because now that's a personality thing. That's not about, I think you're a waste of money. That's different. That's radically different. So, yeah, anyway. At the crime scene, they first find two people that... yeah, I'm just looking to see if they actually state anything. Not really. Yeah, neither show any signs of resistance. No apparent wounds on them either, it seems like. But it was also they just died instantly and together. Because, as Ingrid points out, two bodies are parallel to each other. Neither shows any signs of resistance. They were killed at the same time, exactly the same time. Coordinated, two killers. Though there's a question why they were looking together in the same direction, but anyhow. And then when they come to the crime boss, the door is locked from the inside. When we arrived, we had to force it open. And also his body is ice cold. The two on the outside, the two others that were killed, they were still warm. So it's basically like we got here right away. They are definitely like they're still warm. This guy's cold. What's up with that? And then the suggestion here is also that the people that killed the two there, and there's more outside as well. We'll get to. We have different groups involved. There's the one who comes in is killing the mob bosses, and there's the ones that's coming in seemingly to hunt that killer. Okay. Although that itself doesn't make much sense, because why is it that the means? Because I mean, even the two guys that are out there, I mean, they're not necessarily as contorted, but they still, there's no indication of them having been shot or anything. So it does still seem like, it's the same person that killed the mob boss. So how does the timeline make sense then? Or how were they killed otherwise? Whereas in the back, no, there's blood everywhere. Like, people were shot, stabbed, throat cut, things like that. Like, trying to extract information. It's like, okay, so it can be there's one group that took out the three, the mob boss and the two goons, even though at very different times. And then somebody else came in and is trying to get information, and that's who killed these people in the alleyway. Little bit more talk between Ingrid and Briggs, with, again, some bigoted remarks here. So, because basically one of the people that was killed outside was a hitman, and he was basically bled to death like a pig even. So it's like this is very much about revenge there. Briggs, oh, well, that's going to nail down the list of suspects then. Have some faith, detective. Do you? What? Have faith? You mean believe in God? Or do you believe that, you are gods? It's like, okay, fine. This is potentially starting to get to the whole, that's why I don't like him, but it still is could you give me more? Because these people do die. Like, they do get injured and such. I mean, I feel like this is more a statement that doesn't get to the motivation for her hatred, and I want to know that. But then at this point, we will leave Briggs behind, because Ingrid spots Bloodruth is just up on top of a building looking down on the alley. Which, hang on, I also just... So I'm just noticing that the costume here for... Okay, no, I guess that's just like... Well, maybe not. Okay, that does not make sense. Anyhow, they start talking, and Bloodruth does explain some things that, well, for one thing, I'm not your enemy, Ingrid, unless you want me to be. And Bloodruth also explains that I'm tracking the spirit that's killing their bosses. So the mob boss is the one who's is being killed by spirits. Maybe Bloodruth is the one who killed killed these people outside. Okay, you invent. We're going to have a big problem. It's more or less the same as yours. You're investigating who killed those lovely gentlemen below, and I'm tracking the spirit that's killing the bosses. It doesn't seem likely to me that this would be Bloodruth's doing. Those on the outside could be wrong. But still is, this is a spirit. You're not dealing with an X-Up here, Ingrid. You're dealing with magic. The kind that's putting you in way over your head. And also that's a very angry spirit. Now here's the thing that I started having to go back and forth on. Bloodruth has, a specific costume to her, right? But it does include a jacket. When we first see her here, it's closed. Okay? But then we have this panel here, which seemingly could just be like, hey, featuring Bloodruth, where now the jacket is open. But we see, like, it continues on here. These panels are inserted on top. Here are her legs, and there's Ingrid standing there. So this is all happening at this time, where suddenly her jacket is open, but then in in one of these panels, we see it's closed again. Because we can see the collar and lapel going down, so it's clearly closed. But it was open just about, so it's very, very confusing here. But it's also, there's another thing here that's confusing, because Ingrid is basically, I got no reason to trust you, why should I trust you? And the whole, I think you have enough enemies on your plate. Let me offer you a symbol of good faith. And so Bloodruth just, cuts her hand there, some blood drops. It's like, I'm just reading this, I'm like, oh okay, what does that mean? Well, I just gave you something. No, you didn't give me any blood. You just dropped it on the ground. It's like, okay, so you cut yourself. That's self-mutilation. I don't care. I don't value that. Why would that tell me anything about you that I can trust you? Okay, if it were something like, hey, I'll put it in this vial. Now, with this, say these words or whatever, and you will always be able to find me. You will always be able to know where I am. So say, this way, you can keep tabs on me this entire time. Won't be a problem until I'm done investigating this and dealing with the spirit. You can know what I'm doing. No problem. If it was something like that, he was like, here, I'm giving you something that's exposing me. All right? Then it's like, okay. Or if this was some kind of established ritual, like in Star Trek. I even did put this in there. Like in Star Trek, they have they cut their hands with the... crap, I don't remember the name of the knife that they use. But they cut their hands. And there's a ritual here where it's like they'll cut their hands, but there will be multiple things that do that, and their blood is shared together in a cup. And there's also times when it's like, hey, joining somebody's house. It's like, okay, well, we're taking the symbol of the house, putting it in the cup, cutting the hand, so it bleeds on there. Take a little of the blood wine, throw that in there, and then you light it. So it gets burned on there. It's like, okay, that's a ritual. You're taking part in this. It's something common. It's shared. This is just, nope, here's some blood. It's like, why? And it's not like, a blood brother or a blood sister kind of thing here either, where it's like, do that, do it to her as well, and then which again, that's symbolism, that if you care about that, then it's going to have meaning. But there's no reason for this to have any meaning to Ingrid. None is stated by Bloodruth for why this should matter to her. None is stated for why Ingrid herself would value it as well. That's like, I've shed blood for you. It's like, again, why? Why is that supposed to impress anything on me? Well, up there, they see lights at the docks. And it's like that's, maybe that's what Bloodruth is actually doing here. Maybe she's casting a spell that illuminates where the spirit is, but it's like, you're not stating that. You're just having something, and I get the whole show don't tell. It's like, okay, but if you're showing something that no one understands, it's pointless. You need to tell me. It's... If I were to grab a deck of cards, and I did a card trick with them, you still have the understanding that whatever the trick I did, it's concerning the deck of cards. You're expecting... You want to pull that out. That's it. Hey, I'm going to do... it's confined to there. This is just, here's some blood, and now there's a light. But a light could come by other means. Maybe it's just, there's a fire down there. That might be linked. If only because it's the docks. That's a good way for people to get out. And it's like... Yeah, and this just happened, so boom, gotta get over there. It's like, it could be that. There's so many other explanations here that just showing doesn't mean anything here. If you want to go with, it's show, don't tell. It's like, you need to tell me something, because otherwise it's like, there's fire over there. Better make sure that the fire department knows. And then say, all right, so Bloodruth, keep telling me about this spirit. It's like, And then then what would Bloodwith be like? It's like, no, that was a spell. That's where the spirit is. It's like, oh, okay. So you're coming with me then, right? Because Bloodwith doesn't come with her either. So it's like, that is actually evidence in favor of my argument here that this doesn't make any sense. Because if it is hey, that's where the spirit is, it's like, well, that's what you're after. So we're going together then, right? She doesn't move. I get, trust me, okay, I'll use this example. Wow, I was not expecting this to go so long. I'll use this example in video games. There are people that are deeply annoyed by, in some modern video games, yellow paint basically on anything. That's what they'll refer to it as, yellow paint. And the reason why is because it is like hand-holding. It's basically laying down the pathway, like just a line at a hospital, how they have the lines painted on the floor, where it's like, oh, you need to get to OR, follow the blue line. You need to get to the ED, that's the red line. And things like that. You need to get to imaging, that's the green. And for good reason, people are annoyed by this being overused in video games because it's like, why can't you just let me explore? I'll tell you why. And I'm not saying that it can't be overdone. Absolutely, it can be overdone. It can be overused. But take a game like, I'm not sure how many of the modern Tomb Raider games, but definitely Shadow of Tomb Raider, this is true. You have locations where it's like, okay, that's where you can scramble up. You can tell because there's like rope, there's rappelling rope or something that was left there. So it's like, okay, you can scramble up that. You need that there because that's the only spot you can scramble up. Like, even if it's the same cliff face, essentially, that you're trying to climb up. And if the rope is here, but the cliff face extends over here, you can't climb up here. You need to know it's here that you have to climb. Because if that wasn't there, and you just started climbing, you might start climbing over here and be like, oh, well, I guess I can't actually make it, and never test here. You need that information told to you, okay? You can't just show that, oh, here's something that's it's taller than you, but maybe you can climb it up. No, you have to say, no, this is the actual place that you're supposed to do it. Another example for Shadow of the Tomb Raider would be, you can get, technically they're resting axes, but they're used like climbing axes. Well, maybe they're not actually resting axes. They look like, and a resting axe is bigger, but in any case, where you can just drive it into the wall of a cliff and climb up, right? Just these big pointy picks, essentially. But they only work on certain walls. Which makes sense, because some are a hard stone that those wouldn't pierce into. So you need that information told to you. Okay? So it's like, you can't complain about yellow paint completely, because you do also need it. Because you need to communicate, hey, this is where you can do this stuff, because you can't do it everywhere. Another example would be, it would be funny to see somebody call out somebody who's like just going off, really ranting hard against yellow paint sucks. We should not have that in any video game. It's horrible. It's ruining the video game. It'd be so funny to just go, oh, so you hate Portal? I think that would be absolutely hilarious if someone brought up, so you don't think you don't think we should have Portal the way it is? Or like, here, we did an asset change in Portal where you can't tell what walls receive a portal and which don't. Or do that with Portal 2 as well. It's like, that would get a lot of people to shut up right away about the yellow paint thing. All right, or at least stop the rant and be like, well, to a degree it's allowed. It's like, yes, it is. Stop arguing that it shouldn't be done. Start arguing that it's being overdone. Anyhow, coming back to it, but that is exactly my point here. It's like, if if Bloodwith just cast a spell, then now it is revealing this information to Ingrid. It's like, okay, I don't know that. It's just a light. Many things produce light. I kind of have one right there. And two more there. One here. See? So what if there's light? I mean, it would be... Oh man, I know there's an example somewhere. I cannot think of what it would be in. Where it's like, much more primitive times, where it's like, here, I've made fire for you. It's like, yeah, I make fire on my own all the time. But what's special about this? But we made it for you. It's like, okay, you made it for me. I appreciate that. But the act of making the fire itself is meaningless to me. I mean, it's just, I don't is this a spell? Is it not? There's no true indication there. And it's just, let me offer you a symbol of good faith. And then she's bleeding. It's like, so that in the future you won't think so harshly of me, but don't let pride get the better of you either. It likes to take root deep in one's souls, and then there's the light. No indication of there being any spell. She's just basically saying, hey, let me, symbol of good faith, so you'll trust me. That could be anything. This symbol could be anything. Like I said, if it were with this, like catching in a vial, with this, you will be able to know where I am at any time, and it will last for the length of this investigation. Once the spirit is dealt with and I'm done, that'll be useless. It's like, that's a symbol of good faith. Right? But that's something else that could happen here. That'd be meaningful. But it's just, nope, blood. And I get it. Blood Ruth. She's a blood sorceress. I got that. Right? From what we've already seen. But it's still, this is... Show, don't tell fails when you don't know when the person doesn't understand what's being shown. So you need to tell. And it's... One more thing on that. It is among those that it's also like, exposition dump that I'll see mentioned. That, and you just see people going off about how, oh, this is horrible, we shouldn't do this anymore. Any story that has that is bad. It's like, okay, so you're saying Star Wars is bad. What are you talking about? I love Star Wars. It's like, but the opening crawl is an exposition dump. It's the most famous exposition dump in culture is the opening crawl. If you say that exposition dumps are only bad, you're saying that Star Wars is bad. No, it's not. It's a question of degree. And I just have this fear, have this concern that people are attaching themselves so strongly to the show, don't tell, no exposition dumps, that they're not realizing, no, you don't have a problem with what these are. Your problem is with them being misused. And you might swing too far the other way, such that you have a moment like this where I got no idea. It's like, it seems a completely empty gesture by Blood Ruth. It's like, okay, you bled. I don't know what that means. I don't know why I should care about this. Okay. So, yeah. Now moving on. Ingrid is racing down to the docks, alone, because naturally alone. Why would there be police? Why would she call up police who would be the... Wait. Yeah. Sandy advised the FPD, I'm heading to the Flores Park Docks, requesting backup, who aren't there when she already arrives, even though there might be units right next to it. It is a dock. You'd expect security. Either private security, which could still be contacted by the police, or the police would be there providing security, or just nearby, because it's the docks. But no, she races there. We'll get there alone. Blood Ruth doesn't come along, even though it's like, hey, I'm interested in the spirit. Maybe that's where the spirit is. Maybe it's not. Why isn't she coming along? Because that would be an intelligent decision. I am sorry. I'm just at least I'm not calling this boring. Let's just leave it there. But when we then cut to seeing the docks, and we've got a man and a woman in these uniforms that have a variant of the like yin yang thing, but now instead of 2, it's 3 symbols. So 3 wedges there with the dots. The third one is red. So you've got white dot in black, red dot in white, black dot in red. And it's both on the colored version is there, but they also have like on shoulder pads the same symbol. It's just monochrome. Man here, and he's holding a gun, helping to carry. No, he is basically carrying a woman. His name is Noah. Her name is Maya. We'll find out. They open up a marked cargo container where they find another one of them who is like tied up there on a chair. He looks like he could be dead, or at least very near it. He's inside the cargo container. His name is Lucas. And it also just occurred to me, I'll make this note. Lucas and Maya are both blondes. I wonder if if it will be revealed they are related. Because this starts happening. That's Maya there, and she's just producing all this, blue fire energy stuff. But now it's time to make you whole again. So it's doing something to rejuvenate Lucas here. Noah heads out to provide protection, actually takes up an Overwatch spot and starts shooting at Ingrid. This then cuts to what the opening panel was for the story. The opening page, I should say, where he was shooting at her in the Apex. For whatever reason, despite taking fire, she decides, I'm going to take off my helmet as I roll off the thing, then leap up to attack him. And they do some fighting back and forth. Noah has a certain advantage here. I think it's more so he was prepared for something. She wasn't necessarily, but I could still see being give enough time so that advantage wears off. Ingrid will win. But the magic stuff going on with Maya is continuing to occur. Lucas is like a zombie, now kind of muscular as well, so like energy in him is like, Argh! And seemingly starting to pull his state later that Ingrid even interprets it as though her soul were being pulled out of her body. But then Maya says, Lucas, bind yourself to me, and so he does. And then they just disappear in this blue flame light thing. All three of them, because Noah has joined them and they all disappear. But it's also Lucas, bind yourself to me. That's why I'm thinking maybe Lucas and Maya are related. Both blondes, like maybe they are brother and sister, could even be fraternal twins. Something like that to help explain why that specific binding is what's desired. And also because it's bind yourself to me, suggesting he potentially was trying to bind himself to Ingrid instead. But it's like, no, bind yourself to me. It's like, maybe Maya can control that, handle that better than Ingrid would, not being related. And then it's finally police arrive, and it's like, what the hell's going on here? Just chasing ghosts. We then see Ingrid has gone to the cemetery to speak to somebody. Yeah, a guy Wilkins. Maybe in Alpha 4 that'll be explained, don't know. Or it could be something new here. That's fine as well, just something to Ingrid's past. And now we have Casper the Demented Ghost somewhere loose in Forest Park. Hey, will you do me a solid? If it happens to turn up in your neck of the woods, find a way to tell me, huh? And then as she leaves, we get this, like, skeletal, demonic clown, jester kind of dude there. And he was watching her, because, right here is his hand on, like, she's walking away, his hand's on a tombstone, is, like, melting it. And that's where it ends. It's like, okay, what? So clearly, and it does also say, to come, there. So there is more to come. No idea where, what, or how that story will be told. Like, is that going to be a Chasing Ghost Part 2 at some point? That maybe will be a full-size book, not just a short story, will be integrated into another story? I got no idea. And that's fine. I actually didn't, unlike the others where I've been giving recommendations. I gotta think. Where would I... I'm honestly thinking 102. Yeah, okay, I'll give it a 1. Give it a 1. So positively flavored failure to recommend. Which I get that may sound weird because of all the ways I was just complaining about. But I still think it's that. I still think that's fairest. Because I don't think it has it has weaknesses, right? It has weaknesses. But what was it that I was constantly saying? I just want this explained. I just want Briggs's hatred, Briggs's bigotry explained. You give that to me, I'm happy. I want what the hell did Bloodwood do? I want that explained. You give that to me, I'm happy. That's what this... And it's like, overall, though, did I really enjoy it? Would I recommend this? No. So it fails that. So that would leave recommend against. It's like, no, there's nothing here that makes me say it was a waste of time. So it's got to be a failure to recommend. And this is exactly what the positively flavored failure to recommend exists for. Exactly what that specific category exists for. Was like, if you gave me some of this stuff, I'd be able to connect with it better. If you gave me why Briggs is how she is. If you gave me what because I already know Bloodruth from the other stuff, but if you gave me what it is that she actually did here that's at all a symbol of good faith, so if you gave that to me, I'd actually be able to connect with it better, and maybe then I'd be enjoying it, especially with Briggs. Because I feel like you give me some of it with Briggs, and it's like, okay, now I'm seeing, because remember, this is like a short story, maybe they'll serialize and do more. This is a short story. It's like, okay, now that I know what it is about Excepts in general, because it doesn't seem to be just Ingrid, but in general that she doesn't like, I know that point of contention. I know what her motivation is behind that. I also know she's motivated to solve the crime, but so is Ingrid. So now it's like, okay, I can start seeing how these two are going to interact. All right? I can understand how the dynamic is now and therefore how it will be. Same kind of thing with Bloodruth. Here's a symbol of good faith. Okay, great. I don't have any understanding of how that is a symbol of anything. So I don't know what their dynamic is, and therefore I don't know how it can develop. If you gave that to me, then yes, it could potentially be likely a weak recommendation, but then it could bump into that, would say, okay, now I'm getting the connection, and now I'm able to actually enjoy it, and be like, okay, I want to see more here. I don't feel that. I genuinely, I am curious, but not enough for me to spend any money on it, okay? This did not grab me, this did not connect with me. That sucks. But that is what it is for me, and it's, hey, somebody else, though, plenty of other people may really enjoy it. I know, it's only my opinion. That's fine. As I've said and basically already... I don't think I said it then. Okay, I got a little bit of time. I think it was with Yaira 3 most strongly that it finally hit me. I am not a comic book reader. Maybe with Yaira 2, but definitely Yaira 3, how that went. It was just like, no. I mean, I liked Yaira 1. Yaira 2 I also do like, but it's like, it was really going through those three where it's like, you know what? No, I don't think I'm a comic book reader. I don't think I am. I was going to go through this, and as I mentioned in one of the previous videos, I have another comic, actually two that are coming, that I'll probably go through as well. Different author, though, so maybe it'll be different. Maybe I'll find that, hey, I really like those, it's just this that isn't connecting with me. That's possible, because, I mean, it's also, like, some of these stories I like better than others. Like, I hate Zaylin. I think that was a lousy story for multiple reasons. But I liked Yaira. Yaira 1 especially. Ice I'm good with. Not perfect, but it's still, I'm good with that. So it's like, we'll see. But it's just, maybe if I was a comic book reader, maybe if I was a comic book guy, this would connect with me better. But it's not. It's not, because it's, give me something. Give me this information that'll have me connect, because I'm not feeling that connection. And with Bloodruth, who is a significant character, if not a main character, Briggs, who is significant and a main character here, or at least should be, shouldn't just be Ingrid, should also be her. If you give that to me, I'd be able to connect with it better, because I understand then the dynamics, and it might be then okay, now I'm invested, now I want to see what more's coming. I don't feel that investment. But maybe that's just a comic book thing. I don't know. And to clarify that, because I feel like the way I'm saying that might make it come off as though I think comic books are lesser than novels. I in no way mean to imply that. Not at all. They're just a different medium. But I do wonder a bit if, because I'm so much more used to reading. And yes, I do then look at the images and take in information, but I wonder if it's, because it could be something like, well, a comic book might be so tuned towards, you're supposed to just interpret certain things out of the images, that there's supposed to be a certain symbolism there that I don't know, like a certain symbolic language to comics that I don't know, because I'm not a comic book reader, that's in there. It's like, oh, well, Jim, if you just the fact, like, to use the Bloodruth thing, it's like, well, just the fact that how these panels are laid out there, you're supposed to know that light is from Bloodruth. It's like, okay, but that's something you would only know from the comic book experience, from having comic book experience, or just not being so technically minded like I am, that lights come from many things. That's like, if it were actually something, because it's also, as I said, that the whole, oh no, it's Bloodruth, it's like, why is Bloodruth not going then? Because it's like, she wants this information as well. Why is she not involved? That, see, again, it's that technical thing. It's like, you're falling apart here. Where it's like, but maybe that's a comic book thing that, well, no, why would she follow that motivation? Whereas to me, it's like, well, that's in a novel, that's bad writing. So, although, yeah, I guess no, that is actually just bad writing. That shouldn't matter what the medium is. That's like she's motivated to continue with this investigation. Has just done something to reveal the next step of the investigation. Does not involve herself with going. She does not go to investigate this next step of the investigation. It's like, so her motivation is not to be in the investigation. See you next time for A Cross to Bear.